This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Life and Death Demonstrations.
Hello everyone, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that despite all its rage is still just a rat in a cage. I am Gep when I'm joined as always my friend and co-host Dr. Izix.
Hi.
And this week we have one of the giant face episodes. It's not the good giant face episode.
Yeah, this one is I guess it's not terrible, it's not bad. I'd say it's sort of mediocre. It's a little spooky, I guess, but
I mean, it's disappointing because it's no nth degree.
Yeah. Which has the best giant floating head in it.
The best giant floating heads. This is a medium giant floating head. I don't think they knew what they were doing with this story particularly, but
well, it's one of those episodes where it's like, okay, we kind of have a B plot that's like only the first 5 minutes, and then that's done, and then the rest of the episode happens.
Yeah, but it's also just sort of random from the nature of the thing. Anyway, yeah. So this is where Silence has Lease, which is the second episode of the second season.
And it's definitely a step up from the previous one. So that's at least something.
I know. At least there's no weird miracle babies.
Yes, I guess they're unless you count our giant face friend here, but
just babyface McGee over here.
Yeah. You look so young, Nagilo.
Yeah, which I hate. I hate the way this character looks, and I hate how it's the thing that I have to stare at constantly because I have like Wikipedia pages and things up for reference, and that's the only picture that anyone ever uses from this episode because it's the only memorable bit.
There is other things that happened barely, but that's the only thing that's different from any other episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. So
yep.
You want a picture of Data looking concerned? Well, we got those, but
yeah, a million of those. Babyface McGee staring into the view screen, which also makes you wonder, right? So like when they're talking to somebody on another ship, one assumes they have their own view screen, and so they're just staring at each other through technology, through advanced FaceTime cameras. But you get one of these things where it's like we are looking out through the ship cameras on the view screen, right? Because it's the bridge has a big screen and there's cameras on the outside that beam in whatever. This is not the weird new era where they have a giant window for some stupid reason. This is a screen. But then they encounter spaceborne entities that are just floating outside, and you can see them on the screen, but then the entity keeps looking around like they can see the bridge.
Yes. I think in this case, the entity might be being projected directly into their minds or something like that. And so it's doing a thing where it wants itself to look like it's outside the ship, but it's not actually there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Because I guess to a certain degree, there's also everyone else on board, and a certain number of them are going to be looking out the windows at that particular moment because, there's 10 forward and there's people just always there. They're going to look out there and it's like, hey, I've got a giant face. Seems to be looking around and speaking, but I can't hear anything. Would Nagilum really, put up with that?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a point.
But maybe a silly one. Where were we?
We were at the person who wrote this thing for some reason. I don't know why he did this. I don't know. I'm in a mood today, apparently. It's written by Jack B. Swords, who had written on Wrath of Khan, probably the best Star Trek movie. So why did you do this thing, huh? You don't have an excuse
to do something different, I guess, than Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, I'll write the best Star Trek movie, and then this. Yeah, sure.
Well, maybe they used to be a writer for Bonanza, 17 episodes there. So maybe they just didn't have enough opportunities for giant faces to show up to talk to people.
Yeah,
They
I bet
wanted to do
that's
that.
difficult in a Western.
Yeah, they also were crew of the streets of San Francisco, and a whole bunch of episodes there. But it's like, well, can we put a giant head in this episode? Maybe just a smiling face in the sky? No, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I have not watched Bonanza. I don't know that much about Westerns overall from that era, but I imagine they have very few giant floating faces.
Yes. Like even in the Western episode of The Prisoner, I don't think there was a giant floating face. There's a lot of other weird stuff going on, but not that.
Guest stars, one of whom is this titular giant floating face. It's not titular. We've just talked about him a lot. It sounded fun. But if it's titular, then his name is Silence. Anyway, Earl Bone is playing Nigilum. He's probably best known from the Terminator franchise. He plays Dr. Peter Silberman. He also does a lot of voice work. He's the narrator in World of Warcraft, which I thought was fun.
He was also in Psychonauts. He's done a lot of other voice acting stuff, like including Clifford the Big Red Dog, the Wild Thornberries. There was another one. I think it was like Jesus and his brothers or something like that.
I didn't see who he was in Psychonauts. I had to look at that.
Yeah. But he was also in Zork and the animated The Mask and a bunch of other stuff. Yes.
No, not that. Not that.
And it's going back further into his acting career that he was actually in live action stuff, like the Terminator movies. But yeah, a lot
Zork,
of voice
the
acting.
Grand Inquisition.
He was in
As the Borg.
Pains.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was in Baldur's Gate as two characters I don't remember because I don't play Baldur's Gate much.
Yeah.
Played Rex in Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. I'm playing through that now on my PlayStation.
Oh, small world.
It's my throwback. It's my throwback game. Ooh, Voyager Elite Forces. That's fun. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out who he was in Psychonauts because I'm curious. Where are you, Psychonauts?
He was also in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century for an episode.
Ooh, Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel. Wow. Star Trek Armada. I guess once you're in Star Trek, you're in Star Trek.
Yes. But in Psychonauts, since you are looking, he was Butcher.
Yeah, who is Butcher? Wait, that doesn't sound familiar.
Maybe there's a Butcher.
I'm finding a
It's
picture.
been a while since I played
Psychonauts, Butcher. Images. Oh, one of the bosses.
Ah.
One of the final bosses. In fact, the final boss I didn't get to because screw that last level. I know enough of what's happening. I don't need to finish that horrific jumping puzzle.
I didn't even get that far, honestly.
In the
I need to go back
circus.
to play.
Yeah, I need to finish it so I can play Psychonauts 2. Anyway,
yeah.
one day we will talk. One day we'll have a video game podcast.
And it'll be about all the games we're catching up on that we missed.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a thing, doesn't it? Anyway,
Yes.
There's another actor in this.
Colmini?
Yeah. He doesn't have much of a part in this one. I don't think anyone transports anywhere.
Oh, they do. They go over to the other ship.
Oh, yeah, that's right. For mere time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Charles Douglas is playing Ensign Haskell. He appeared in a lot of 70s dramas. Getting Together and Short Eyes. I've never heard of either of those, but they're there. And guest roles in 80s shows like Family Ties, Falcon Crest, those sorts of things.
Knots Landing, something called Fame, I guess.
I just think he's notable because he's one of the dying breed, as it were, of red shirts in Star Trek.
Yep. Oh no, a red shirt died. Are you surprised? This one was on the bridge. Oh, dang, that's like serious then.
But also in Next Gen, which doesn't actually happen that often in Next Generation. The red shirts kind of faded out. They put the main characters in danger more frequently.
Yes. Yeah, I guess if you absolutely need someone to die in Next Gen, it's going to be a one episode love interest, or someone that is like the second command of someone, and that we're supposed to consider important for this episode.
Yeah. And someone they introduced for the episode, they get a little important and then die, because they want emotional stakes, not just the one dude who dies suddenly who you never saw again. And they're like, oh, darn, that dude died. So this is serious.
Though I did appreciate what they did in Voyager in the first season, I think it was, where they introduced a character for a few episodes, just sort of, occasionally in the background, and then he gets, abducted by the Vidians and a bunch of other folks, and, the Vidian makeup makes it, not entirely clear that the same actor is playing, a Vidian who happens to put on his face at some point. It's like, well, the one dude's dead, but he's still living on, I guess.
I know. That was a pretty good use of background actors.
Yes.
Okay, we may as well keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I think we've wasted enough time already. So.
Have we? Have we, though? Do people actually come to this to help listen to us talk about the episode?
I don't know.
Not sure.
Leave a comment down below to let us know.
Okay, so Picard is very worried for some reason.
Is somebody in surgery?
It looks like he's pacing around the bridge. He's deeply concerned for Worf and Riker because they're at the gym.
Oh.
They're working out.
Yeah. Just going around beating up some dudes,
Yeah, they're on the holodeck. They're sneaking around a jungle with an old industrial junk in it. Worf finds a big thumb glove. It's just giant thumb dagger.
It's kind of awesome because, this is sort of, very much a Star Trek The Next Generation weapon. AKA, it's very impractical to actually use, but it's sci-fi, so you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, it's very stupid looking. Yes. I don't know what this thing is. What if a glove had giant spiky things on it?
Well, we did technically have something like that in the previous season, but, the less we remember that episode, the better.
So, as soon as he finds the weapon, they're jumped by Ninja Turtle rejects.
Here we have Skeletor, and here we have the Armadillo Man. And
knockoff Skeletor and a Ninja Turtle.
Yes.
They defeat them. Worf gets all bloodlusty, though, and he stops just before he stabs Riker to death with an axe.
Yes. Riker has like, chill out, man. Wait, maybe if I use my command abilities... Oh, hey, it actually worked. I'm a D&D character.
Yeah, but in that weird, what was that, 4th edition, when you had everyone had superpowers so that it worked with the magic system.
Yes.
I play command like it's a spell.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're nerdy enough.
Yeah, and I hope you are too.
This is one of Worf's lighter workouts because guests aren't allowed in the other ones. I think it's interesting though that this is surprising to people. It's like, oh my god, this is how Klingons work out. It's like, wouldn't you given access to a holodeck?
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be a way more interesting and fun way to do calisthenics than going to the gym, being on a treadmill?
Because I guess the hardest I have ever worked out that also didn't involve hiking at 10,000 feet above sea level was the one time I played ultimate dodgeball for about 3 hours straight. And the next 3 weeks my body was just going ow, ow, ow.
Yeah.
Because you get into the mode and you're just like, I'm just gonna keep doing the thing. Yeah.
It's fun. I did fire training in Arizona, and we just ran obstacle courses over and over and over. It was great fun. Like you definitely know you're doing a workout because it's an obstacle course, but it's still way more interesting than just doing push-ups and whatever gym things. Make it fun. Make exercise enjoyable. Damn it.
Just change it up so you're like having to think as well as move.
Yeah, let me fight a Skeletor.
Now I want to fight Skeletor.
So back on the bridge, the Data's found a hole.
Like a space thing hole, not just there's a hole in the carpet here.
Yeah, so there's a hole here. Huh. Also outside, there's a large area of blackness, which is distinct from the rest of space.
To quote Holly, the thing about space is it's black. And, to paraphrase then, the thing about this thing is it's black.
But it also is nothing. It doesn't have any matter, doesn't have any energy. They can see the, edges of it because nothing's getting through. It's kind of like a black hole. So it's something, but nothing is actually there.
Yeah, so maybe it's like a cold spot in the cosmic microwave background where our universe has run up against a smaller, less robust universe, and it just sort of road bumped it or speed bumped it there. And so now there's a portion of our cosmos that is now, a dead zone because all of our reality, all our particles, all our energy were incompatible with this other universe we kind of ran over, and it's being expressed in this localized area, and anything that enters it just kind of engages in a weird dance of laws of physics don't quite work the same anymore, so we're just going to kind of disperse.
Yeah, I'm sure that makes sense.
So 10 points to anyone who knows what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway.
Wesley goes, if it's a hole in space, shouldn't we be able to see what's on the other side? Like an ordinary space hole?
Yes. This is like a wormhole. You should be able to see, like, wherever it leads to,
I just love this this explanation. It's like, wait, this doesn't seem to be acting like all those other holes in space. Like, okay, sure.
Well, I guess if it's a wormhole that connects somewhere else in time, not just space, could connect to the very, very far future where we've been fully embraced the heat death of the universe. In which case, the whatever you would be seeing there is such a low temperature that's undetectable by the ship's sensors.
So they send a probe into the thing. It disappears as soon as it gets to the hole. Worf goes, oh, there's Klingon stories of a black space creature that devours entire vessels. Wesley points out that they can use where the probes disappeared to map the edges of the hole so they can move in closer. But then as soon as they do, the hole leaps out at them, and suddenly they're inside.
Oh, great. We approach the thing, we're about to poke it with a pointy stick, and then it eats us.
So they can't see out of the hole. They have no point of reference. They can't tell if they're moving. The engines are on, but with nothing to measure against, they may as well be standing still. Pulaski comes to the bridge so she can also be a main character, and she gets to be mean to Data for a little while for no reason.
Yeah, it does know how to scan things, right? And it do basic things with the computer screen, and I'm just gonna ask in the most obtuse way possible. Also, because I'm here, yeah, I exist.
So they set reverse course, but don't seem to be going anywhere, etc. Geordi comes to the bridge. So now the whole gang's here, basically. Everyone gets to be on the bridge. We don't have to use a second set.
Well, we did for a little bit, but, we kind of abandoned that.
Data suggests dropping a stationary probe so they can have a point of reference for the moving. They move away from the beacon until they're moving towards the beacon.
Obviously, we're in a small, closed universe because, we're able to, circle back around by going a straight line. It might even be toroidal in shape, aka a universal donut.
Yeah, the donut universe.
Yeah.
Space-time is a donut. Or a bagel.
Yes. A bagel with everything
bagel.
on it. Anyway.
So, they suddenly detect a ship. It's a Romulan warbird that attacks immediately. But it's destroyed in one shot.
Well, that was convenient.
Yeah. Very convenient.
Did they not have their shields up despite attacking? And
yeah, they just malfunctioned after the cloaking thing. You know how that do.
Well, usually the Romulans are more on top of things than this, but hooray, we win! Let's check out the debris.
Then a Federation ship suddenly appears. The Yamato's there. It's the Enterprise's sister ship, so they only have to use one model. It's fully powered and operational, but there's no life signs.
Well, that's suspicious. Do they get abducted by the space-time void as well?
Or the Romulans.
Or the Romulans. Maybe that's what happened to the Romulans. It was actually the crew of the Yamato took over their ship, and they'd gone, insane, and we're like, we'll just shoot everything, and never mind turning our shields on. This totally makes sense, right?
That does, yeah. This is just space zombies.
Yes. And they've not even taken Trallium D.
So Riker requests to go over to find out what's going on. He and Worf beam over to the other ship. They mean to go to the bridge, but they materialized alone in random hallways. Riker hears Worf screaming, then sees him running towards him because Worf heard Riker screaming.
If neither of you were screaming, maybe we're not alone on this ghost ship of the damned.
Yeah, it is a very ghost ship. It is cool to see the thing all empty. It's very creepy.
Yes.
I do like it.
And all the usual lights are dimmed or off and nothing's working and just mood lighting.
So they get to the very empty bridge, and they go to the other door to find another bridge, etc.
Well, apparently that small closed universe is closing in even faster than I was anticipating here. Yeah, you might be about to be crushed, guys. Be careful about that.
Probably. I mean, that's a 4th season episode, I think.
Yeah. Do you remember me in that one?
So on the Enterprise, they detect a way out, but they can't get a transporter lock on the away team, so Picard doesn't go for it. Riker and Worf find that there's really only one bridge, because if they leave through one door, they come in the other door on the other side. Which drives Worf a little bit crazy, kind of doesn't like it.
Now, the fun thing would be for Riker then to, go through one door and then go and, and like hang out with Worf in the duplicate bridge there. And then when they get beamed back to the Enterprise, Riker looks over to Worf and goes, "Is it the real me, though?"
So the transporter locks suddenly back. The Yamato starts to fade away. Picard gets them to beam back just in time before the Yamato just sort of fades out of existence.
As it does, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Defiant situation.
Yeah. Alternatively, it's a TARDIS.
Didn't make the noise, though.
Yeah. Well, that's because they don't have the parking brake on.
Riker's had enough of this. He's getting a bit agitated by what the hell is happening. They detect another way out, but when they move towards it, it closes. Then they do that again. And again. Picard's tired of this and just starts holding still when things pop up. Troy goes, "Hey, there's something behind this. There's kind of a large, vast intelligence I'm detecting out there somewhere."
As opposed to a powerful one like Q, this one's just really big.
Yeah. It's not powerful. I mean, it is, but it's also huge. Pulaski thinks they're being treated like rats in a maze with this weird stuff happening. Also odd they still do that. That's still culturally relevant enough for them.
Well, maybe there was a recent movie or holodeck program that everyone was really into where there's maybe they were taking into the remake of Dark City. Yeah.
So as soon as Pulaski goes, "Hey, it seems like we're in a research situation, like rats," a face appears and goes, "Hey, I'm Nagilum. I'm curious about you. What's going on?" Data's different. Pulaski's different. She's a woman, and that's somehow just as different as being a robot, but also somehow less different than being an alien. I don't like. Why is this notable? Like, oh, this is a woman. There's 2 aliens on board the bridge. You commented on the robot. Like, yes. Worf has similar enough anatomy to every other man there that you don't go like, "Oh, what's going on here?" No, it's a woman.
So I'm going to manhandle Pulaski with my mind power telekinesis stuff here, while Troy's just kind of, I'm just going to be quiet over here.
That one's also odd. Like, what are they trying to say about Troy here?
Maybe she's in a blind spot for Nagilum because, she recently had a space baby.
Or it's because of the Betazoid thing. Apparently, he doesn't think the aliens are notable.
Yes.
So,
well, maybe he's encountered Betazoids and Klingons before, and they're like of little interest now. But these humans,
the thing that we don't know, that no one tells you about Betazoids, is their chromosomes are reversed like birds. So Nagilum's here to learn. He wants to learn about them. Like, it's weird that humans can die, like this. And Haskell, who's sitting at the con, suddenly keels over dead.
Well, I guess we're not going to have the Haskell spin-off show then. Dang.
Nagilum thinks this was fun. He wants to see more ways of dying. Probably about half the crew. Don't worry about it.
Nagilum, we have like a computer on our spaceship. We can just let you download a copy of all this stuff about, death.
That'd be no fun.
Yeah. I have to torture and kill everyone myself. Jeepers, guys.
So the crew have a meeting. They want to fight. They can't figure out if they even can. because this thing is just sort of its own little universe out there. So really, there's nothing they can particularly do about it, except Picard goes, well, we can blow up the ship. Like, go out on our own terms instead of sitting around waiting to see if you're half the crew that dies horribly.
Indeed. Well, I guess this, be a quick death at least. You know, you're not going to, like, die like Haskell did, which looked like it was really painful, actually.
So he sets the self-destruct for 20 minutes, give everyone some time to prepare. Almost 20 minutes later, Troy and Data show up at Picard's quarters to go, no, this is wrong. Don't have people die. It's way better to do this. And Data goes like, yeah, what's death even, after all? They go over a couple of vague ideas about afterlives and whatever, and Troy goes, you shouldn't take away people's chance of living. And then Picard goes like, wait a minute, you two wouldn't act like this.
Like, Troy, you would, well, first off, you probably wouldn't question the captain's sort of prerogative on this particular point. And Data, your ethical
suddenly
program
on first name basis. What's going on?
Would probably be okay with this as an alternative to, painful torture and death.
They go, well, fine. Yeah, it's Nagilum trying to trick you. They vanish. Suddenly the Enterprise is back in normal space.
Oh.
Picard's dubious. He's like, this could be a trick. This could be another trick. Oh my god. But, like, you can't keep doing that. So with 10 seconds left, he turns the self-destruct off. Riker enthusiastically concurs with this.
It's like a simple yes could have sufficed, but Riker's just like, I just wanted to be sure,
Yeah.
because we were like 2 seconds left.
I love the Riker thing because the computer goes like, second officer, do you concur? Yes, wholeheartedly, my god. So seems like they're probably back in the clear. Picard returns to his ready room where Nagilum appears on the screen. Wants to share what he's learned. Humans are rash and selfish and aggressive. They don't have anything in common. So just get out of here. Picard goes, no, we're both curious. And Nagilum goes, you know what? Yeah, we are both curious and inhumane to lab animals.
So, that we got that in common. So let's go torture some possums or something like that.
Yeah. Nagilum disappears. Picard goes back to the bridge, and they get back to whatever it was they were doing before.
Which was charting part of space that the Federation had never quite contacted before, apparently.
Yeah.
And, that was where Silence has Lease.
There we go.
And we never encountered Nagilum ever again.
Nope. So what do we think? Silence, Lease, Babyface, Nagi.
Yeah, as I said, it's not terrible. I wouldn't even say it's bad, but it's kind of, it's just sort of there, I suppose. Maybe a couple things kind of, interesting sort of, interactions with, various characters here, but, not a super impressive episode, I guess. And plus that first few minutes, is just sort of establishing, all right, Klingons can be aggressive and like to fight. Okay, does this have anything to do with the rest of the episode? Maybe when Worf gets frustrated with having 2 bridges on the Yamato, maybe.
Sorta, yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't, decide to start taking it out on Riker and beating him up or something like that. It's just sort of, he gets to, yelling and screaming and oh, there's 1 bridge, but there's 2, oh gosh. Just a little silly. Especially since, Worf is, big warrior guy here, but he's also kind of a geek when you think about it, because he's always doing analyses on things, especially the TNG era. He's like, when Tasha died, he's like, I'm going to be responsible and not go down and try to punch this thing in the face. Instead, I'm going to use science in order to solve the problem, and gets everyone out in the end.
I think my main problem with this episode is that it's just sort of not really saying anything, even though it's put itself in a lot of places where it could.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it wants to, but it just doesn't then.
Yeah. All right, so we're trapped in an experimental enclosure. All right, are we going to have much to talk about in terms of, say, the ethics of experimenting on other life forms? Not really. Just that it sucks to be, experimented upon person.
Yeah, like are we going to talk about the ethics of experimentation, the need for experimentation, whether or not it's ethical to do this because there's no other way to learn certain things, or if it's never worth crossing that line, whether or not this, like, how much this goes back to old ways of doing behavioral experimentation and research, and how a lot of that was in such weird situations that it probably didn't really teach us anything. Indeed. And it's a bad way to do behavioral research. So, like, you could argue that he's not actually going to learn anything about humanity, and that could be an interesting way to take this.
Yeah, that could have been a way to try to get Nagilum to be, sort of off kilter, at least, at some point, so that the, self-destruct plan would actually kind of, make sense to work.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, we're going to just explode if Nagilum doesn't let us out, and I guess we just have to hope he does. All right, well, we're trusting our fate on a life form that seems to claim it likes to kill for fun, so, Or
are we going to, like, go down the route of actually spending some time with the crew in this 20-minute window where they're trapped and have nothing to do and know they're all going to die, and look at how the different ways people contemplate death, maybe how it's changed in the future or how it stayed the same.
Yeah, we could take that part of the episode and make it like a real-time sort of experience, where, we get the setup done for the first half hour, and then the last 20 minutes of the episode is various crew members that we know and maybe a few that we don't, figuring out what they're going to do to spend the last 20 minutes of their lives. Are they going to have a conversation about the afterlife or the lack thereof, or whatever else they believe? Or are they going to do some ceremonies? Are they going to try to have fun? It's like, I'm going to go to 10-4 to get drunk real quick. What is everyone doing when they're sort of faced with this situation?
Yeah.
But we don't.
But no. Yeah. Nah.
I guess we figured out what Picard does. He's like, I'm going to go hang out in my quarters and listen to music and wait for people to show up and to try to trick me. There we go.
Yeah. Just that's the whole thing. Is just we basically cut from, yeah, we've decided that we're going to basically all commit suicide rather than let people have this horrible thing. You could even discuss that. He just went like, which is better? And they immediately go with, well, that, which I personally agree with, but you could talk about it. Mm-hmm. You could go like, yeah, maybe it is better to do that. Maybe you don't even want to survive this situation. Right? Would think about that. Do you want to be one of the people who survives watching half of your friends and crew members die horribly?
Yeah, that sounds like it would suck, actually. Not only, basic survivor's guilt, but you also experienced a lot of, the suffering, sort of secondhand here, as everyone's, grasping at their faces and screaming in horrible pain, or potentially much worse. I walked down the hall and, suddenly, crewman so-and-so was there, and they just started melting right in front of me, and they, they were begging for my help, but anytime I tried to get, close, I would get zapped or something like that. And so, I just had to watch on helplessly. That was the most horrific thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that could be awful. So, yeah, could be pretty good. Could be pretty good to not have to live through that. But you could talk about that a little bit, maybe just a little. No, yeah. Not worth having a contemplation of death and mortality. You have a 10-second scene with fake Data where he goes, "What is it to die?" He goes, "Well, some people believe there's an afterlife."
Oh, well, okay.
Cool.
That's something the audience already knows.
Great,
but,
yeah. Good job.
And, I do kind of like the Picard sort of like, it's like, well, I think, if there is something that is grander than we can conceive of in our limited understanding as, beings within the universe here. So, so he's, kind of like, I can kind of hope that there's something cool going on.
Yeah.
But
we could think about it, how we're basically fighting with God right now.
Yeah.
as we speak.
I just wish it was an arm wrestling contest. Then at least I could lose with dignity. But I guess in the alternative episode where they, do sort of spend, time hanging out with everyone as they're sort of contemplating death, it might be also a little bit of a fun opportunity to have various, duplicates of various crew members kind of hanging out and listening in on these conversations. Then they're actually Nagilum in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we have like 3 different Troys in different parts of the ship right now, and they're all just kind of quietly watching and adding, their own commentary to sort of more push the conversation along as opposed to, trying to lead the discussion. And so, that could be something kind of interesting to play with in terms of plots. But, that's not the episode we got.
Well, that would be a really, really interesting thing to do if you spend... You don't have to do it real time, but spend at least 15 minutes of the episode with various discussions from various cultural viewpoints about death. I'm sure Worf has some views on not being able to fight.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Klingons, Klingons do have, sort of, if you are unable to get a warrior's death, there's ways to die honorably as via suicide.
Mm-hmm.
But most of those haven't been established yet.
Yeah,
so...
I mean, he could even have that of the... think about the weird implications of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having to die in a specific way for your honor-based fighting culture, like Worf wants to do. You probably have to do some sort of ritualistic suicide something in order to pull that off. So does that mean you have to commit suicide yourself right before everyone else does? There's some weird stuff there.
Yeah, I there might be it's like, I'm going to go do this, but, maybe you can have a moment where it's like, well, I actually need you at your post. Well, why? We're all going to die. Just in case.
Yeah, you could have that. Why is everyone still doing everyone's still, in position when they need to do something, which works out well, but you could talk about that. But it would be also interesting, like you were saying, you have all these discussions going on, and in the background there's just a background character always there, and if you're paying attention, it's always the same dude. Mm-hmm. And then that was the entire point, because obviously that does seem to be the thing. It's just, I just wanted to see what you would do about me putting you in a life-threatening situation, not actually kill all of you.
Yes. Just it's one of the things we talked about a lot with the original series, that there's so much good that could be done with this premise here that is just sort of ignored or forgotten or bypassed entirely. And some of it is obvious, like, all right, well, we need to have an action quotient at the beginning, so we'll just have that weird scene at the beginning of the episode and that'll kill a few minutes. All right, well, you can still do other things and still have your action scene there. Heck, I'd even argue that the exploring of the Yamato is kind of, a more interesting action scene there. If you wanted to have a fight in there, have a fight in there. It's like, oh yeah, and suddenly Worf is attacking Riker, and Riker, wins the fight, or even Worf wins the fight, and whoever went down with their neck broken suddenly is like, what are you doing? From behind them. And then they look down at the body, and it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be really interesting. That whole exploring the Yamato thing wasn't very interesting, was it? They didn't do much.
It's like, okay, there's some weirdness going on here. This is, a fake ship, as we can detect the materials in the bulkhead here. It's close, but it's also not the same. So,
Yeah, it could slowly discover different things. That whole bridge thing's interesting, but it's just a cool visual effect.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm not exactly disappointed in this episode. Just, it feels like putting an episode that puts itself in all these positions to be like, oh, this could be interesting, this could be interesting, this could be interesting, and then they don't do anything. It just sort of leads to the whole thing being sort of lackluster overall. And then it leads us, who have put ourselves in this weird position of trying to talk about stuff. I mean, we have to make up a bunch of things that could have happened in order to say anything interesting.
So I guess if we're trying to find things that are not just talking about alternatives to the episode, we could talk about the ethics of animal experimentation.
Yeah, that one's very complicated.
Yes. And from there we could even bounce over to, human experimentation and the pros and cons to all of this. But from this episode, though, I'm not really married to being in the full discussion there, honestly, because they don't bother.
I feel like there's other ones that actually handle that actually talk about that.
I guess I could then bounce from there. So if we don't focus on that, maybe escaping the maze is what we should talk about. And is it possible to do it from within, or is outside help always necessary? And that's sort of a interesting conundrum. But if the outside help is necessary, that can then lead to discussions about animal rights activism, various groups related to that, and all sorts of other sort of meandering stuff. But once again, I'm faced with this episode. It's like, it's not focusing on anything, so how can I focus on anything?
The only thing that they really got to was at a certain point they go, the only thing to do with someone who's not operating on the same field as you is to not play.
The only winning move is not to play.
Yeah, I mean, we could do war games. Yeah.
Yes. It is technically sci-fi because we got an advanced AI in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically Twitch plays thermonuclear war.
Kind of. Maybe if they do a proper remake of it, that's what they should be going for. It's not a sentient computer, but it's a Twitch stream that has now been hooked up to a defense computer that, at first, it's just running simulations, but then someone trips over something and suddenly it's feeding live data.
Yeah, and then what? Oh, no. Yeah, you could have an interesting discussion there. Then, you try to wrest control. People have to have debates about, someone's trying to start nuclear war for fun and everyone else is trying not to. And then there's a whole discussion about how terrible people are being on the internet.
Yep. And, is it going to be the triumph of, human, goodness or human depravity that's going to win out in the end here?
Yeah, are trolls willing to start a nuclear war? Almost certainly. But
yes, never mind that they'll, probably die pretty quickly in the whole series of events themselves. But,
I don't know. Do you think people who do that sort of thing have a lot to live for?
True. Some of them might be just really bored and actually have a lot of money and support in their life, and otherwise just be living the good life, but they're not creative enough to really kind of know how to do anything with that, so they just troll people online instead. But then trolling gets right back to Nagilum again, because that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so we've gone full circle.
This isn't as much of a thing anymore, but remember a few years back, people kept doing stupid, offensive, borderline dangerous things, and then when they got called out for it, they'd go, I was just doing a social experiment.
Oh, you weren't. You're being a dick.
Yeah, I feel like that's what's happening. This is just I tried to destroy your ship and I killed someone. I was just doing a social experiment. I wanted to see how people would react,
Yeah, just poking you the right way.
It's a completely normal thing that normal people would do. And for some reason, it's also acceptable that some random asshole would be doing this. I'm reminded of that Mythbusters quote: "The difference between science and messing around is writing down your results."
Indeed. So if you're doing a social experiment, where's your control group, first off? And second off, where's your data collection method here? Any sort of data collection, at all would be nice to, show. And, Oh, you don't got any? Well, then I'm not going to believe you. Ha! Which actually is something that people need to do more. In
Yeah, I
terms
know.
Of,
You were running an
yeah.
experiment. Where's your data? Show me your statistical analysis. What kind of modifier are you using to work out your statistical outliers? Yeah. Which kind of statistical analysis model are you using to show your results? Where is my cat and whisker graph?
I want to know the standard deviation of your results, so get to it. Chop, chop.
Like, if you are not doing math, it's not science.
Well, yeah, I generally agree with that. Sometimes the math is really easy. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's very hard. It just, but even just counting a collection of yeses and nos means you're adding, and that counts as math.
Well, I've been to some things that are like full-on biology, like bird science and things, and they show these analyses, like, oh, we sat around and watched the birds build nests for ages. Like, okay, that's fun. That's an observational research for behavior in biology. That's neat. Here's our graph on the 15 different lengths of sticks they used. It's like, okay.
All right, so
it's like within a standard deviation of 3 to 4% with this using this statistical observation model. And
well, I guess the birds really do know what they want when it comes to sticks to use. Huh. Or maybe there's birds that don't.
Yeah, like pigeons.
I'm going to put this together and the other thing near the first
a joke
thing,
for the bird people.
Yeah. Yes. I've seen some pigeon quote nests. It's like there's an egg here and there's some random garbage nearby. Is this supposed to be something? Pigeons are weird.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like we strayed a little bit, but maybe it's a nest. Maybe it's a Nagilum nest, and they just got in there. It's like, oh, I'll fuck around with these guys for a minute.
Well, I guess when it comes to animal experimentations and things like that, and activist groups against that sort of thing, I guess I can quickly tell a brief story from my time in college.
Oh,
yes, it's not something I witnessed myself, but the next to the physics building where I went to undergrad was one of the biology buildings, and happened to be one of the ones that had some animal-based sort of experimentation sort of stuff going on. I don't remember if it was like supposed to be more I guess chemical biological sort of focused, or like behavioral sort of things, because the articles talking about it after the fact weren't exactly clear. Because there's a reason the particular paper there is sometimes called the Daily Idiot, because they sometimes leave out very important, massive chunks of the story. Anyway, so at one point during my time there, some folks broke into the biology building there and liberated a collection of animals.
Oh no!
Yes, and the animals were extracted from the building, and it's not entirely clear what happened to them after that. They might have just been let go, maybe, or maybe they're taken off somewhere. No one really knows, at least as far as the general public goes. But I guess the main thing the article did talk about was assurance that nothing dangerous was released, so we're not going to have a plague, so that's good. But at the same time, there is still concern that this kind of thing happens on campus, et cetera, and we're going to have improved security, all that sort of stuff there. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, this kind of if I had been like going home from work super late one night, I might have like seen something like that about going on there, because sometimes I did go into the office late for my campus job there. But on the other hand, the particulars of my job, I had managed to rework how I did things, so I could get an entire day's work done in about 5 minutes. So uh, my chances of actually being there to witness people trying to break in or exit the building was probably actually pretty low. But it did sort of lead to a campus-wide sort of discussion about, animal experimentation, around campus for, at least a few weeks there. But then it kind of just fell out of favor in terms of discussion. And I suspect the folks behind the break-in and all that might have been disappointed by that. That, yeah, they got some discussion happening, but it didn't really go anywhere. So, I guess, I am, open to direct action being a thing to try to affect change. But I guess if you're going to be doing that sort of thing, maybe have a plan for managing the discussion post-event so that you're not sort of just like, oh, that's a thing that happened.
Well, I think,
and then everyone moves on.
You run into a big problem with that, and I should say this because, we have a thing here recently. An owl got vandalized out of a zoo and is now living in Central Park. And people are saying that they want the owl to stay because it should be free and all this bull. But, direct action is one thing, and sometimes you can have that for what you're doing. But if you're dealing with animals, don't, you save all the animals or whatever, you grab all of the things and you go, yay, let go, be free, and then they all fucking starve to death. Or they're an invasive species or something else. It's not good. Don't do that. Don't let the animals loose. Don't think that you can take care of animals. Taking care of animals is difficult. And any of these things that aren't zoos that people keep trying to go, we'll rescue lab animals and take them to a whatever sanctuaries. Those places are awful. Those places are run by idiots who don't know what they're doing.
There are a few out there that are well run, but they're more the exception than the rule by far. Because, there's more Joe Exotics out there than people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, and, these places don't have to know what they're doing, which is the entire problem. A zoo has to be accredited and inspected and does actual science and conservation.
Yes. Well, Bob Joe's, tiger sanctuary is, just some guy.
Yeah, they're just horribly mistreating animals. Because it has the word sanctuary in the title, everyone goes oh my God, that must be so much better. And stop that. Just stop that.
Yeah, so I guess the double disappointing thing for me then in this particular sort of incident is the fate of the animals, and that the conversation didn't really go anywhere useful in terms of people actually considering any of the positions involved.
Well, it's not going to. Because, animal activism at the minute has been taken over by bad faith actors. Who are there's so many of these organizations that are basically against the thing that they claim to be for in order to just make money and gain power, and this is definitely one of the things that is doing that. So animal activism, vegans, the vegan propaganda, all that stuff is just the front end of a money making, power gaining organization that isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. And if you care about this stuff at all, that's just poisoning the discussion. You can't have this discussion right now at all because places like that are getting in the way.
If we're going to be doing it, it has to be our way, and it has to be our way so that we can make a buck off of it. I mean, so that you can donate to our charity. Yes, that's totally what we're doing. Charity.
Yeah, creates a very big issue.
Yes. So I guess, in terms of, these sort of groups for our listeners is be mindful and watch out for someone trying to make a buck off of your activism. Because there's plenty out there that are trying to do exactly that. And, it's sort of, in one of those areas that it's if you're going to try to seek help in actually, getting back at someone who basically screwed you over and is hurting the cause, well, now you have to talk to some sort of authority figure, and they've already sort of instilled in you that you can't trust any of them. So, there's no one you can go to, and that kind of sucks, It's and so I guess maybe instead of if you're unwilling or uninterested in talking to a authority in the that's sort of official, maybe we should like start organizing folks that are sort of unofficial authorities to sort of draw big circles about around those that are basically in it for themselves as opposed to the cause. And it's like, yeah, we're gonna like actually bring some accountability to you folks, so you're not like ruining everything and trying to make a better world impossible because you're so selfish. So for silence says Lease.
Yeah, I mean, that's the discussion that people would want to have about that. They're not doing it, but
Mm-hmm. I guess I do keep an eye out for folks in the grander world that are trying to make noise when there's folks that are using activism as ways to gain power or control people, etc., etc. And I would recommend everyone sort of look for folks that are sort of knowledgeable about that sort of keeping a lookout, and learn from them and how to do it yourself, and so you can sort of avoid falling into the various traps that have been sort of put together by less than scrupulous people. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah. Okay, that's more discussion than I thought we were going to get out of this thing.
Well, we got meandering, so
we
it
do
happens.
that. All right, so if that's what we got on silence and leases and etc., then it's probably time for the galaxy's favorite game show.
Woo! Hey everybody, welcome to the galaxy's favorite game show, where we got some sort of prize liberation organization going on here to try to rack up some extra points here, but our various contestants I think are going to beat them out. So let's see what we got here first. The first is Sufficiently Advanced Aliens, which goes to Nagilum for being able to conjure up starships with baffling geometries within a micro-closed space-time manifold and all that sort of stuff. What does Nagilum win, Gepwin?
Nagilum wins a cosmic display shelf. He can make all the cool ships, and he can just put them there. Just collect stuff and observe. You don't have to touch it. Just make models. It's fun.
Indeed. You want yourself a Romulan warbird? There you go. You just put it on your shelf, can admire it. If you want, you're so powerful. If you want like to explode one, you just duplicate the one you already have, and then take the Yamato you also created and just have it shoot at it.
Yeah,
you can do that. Have fun. Our second prize is the To Die is Logical prize, which goes to Picard because screw putting up with the infinite curiosity of an uber being or internet troll or whatever. He wants out of this crazy thing. What does Picard win, Gepwin?
Picard wins a more fancy self-destruct button. Because the voice thing's cool, but remember when people used to hit a big red button?
Indeed. Maybe some sort of big crank or lever, or maybe a lever that opens up a control panel that has a big red button on it.
Yeah, you could have a button that opens up a lever, like one of those little covered ones, the don't push this button that has the plastic thingy over it you have to move.
Mm-hmm.
And then that opens a wall panel with a lever, and then that opens a secret wall panel with 2 keys.
And Riker has to pull out his key, but he lost it in a poker game or something like that. So it becomes a whole thing. It could be hilarious.
Yeah, okay, who got the pot that week? Speak up.
So moving on before we get too lost in gambling, our third prize is the Worf Effect prize, which goes to Haskell for demonstrating this situation serious, but because he's not a main character or cast member, he actually does die as a result. What does he win, Gepwin?
Haskell wins whatever this version of a funeral would be, because you have full military honor funerals. I feel like they need to have a Star Trek red shirt funeral, which is kind of like that, but they have to do it in bulk.
So instead of the emptied photon torpedo tube shooting out the front of the ship, they have basically a big box container that they just sort of shove out a cargo bay instead.
Yeah.
No, I maybe that's something that they should pull out and maybe Strange New Worlds or Discovery at some point. Anyway, our final prize is the Klingon Hot Prize, which goes to Worf for being nearly turned on by beating up a bunch of dudes on the holodeck, because he got a little eager there at the end. What does he win, Capwin?
He wins. What I really hope these things have is a holodeck door lock.
Mm-hmm.
It's really unclear whether these things lock, and they really should for your hot workout stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I still appreciate that one joke on Lower Decks about cleaning the holodeck filter. But yeah, that's all I got here today, Gepwin. Feel free to take us away, and maybe we'll no longer be lost in the void forever. It's cold here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us all in this giant void with no point of reference, and no way to know what's happening in the outside world.
It's like the start of the pandemic all over again. I'm scared.
Oh no. Yeah. But right now we just are ending up the thing we call the Galaxy's favorite game show.
So it's probably good that you decided to go with the cage bit at the start of the episode, and I decided to go with something else instead. But I was thinking sort of the same thing, actually.
Well, I make those up after I hear yours. So. All right, next time we've got one of the more iconic episodes and something that sets up like a whole character thing, and like a main villain who's going to show up like he was in the trailer for Picard season 3. It's probably going to have gotten to that episode by the time this releases. I don't know how far through, but oh my god, it's dude, it's a reference. We see a reference. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like the guy with the hair and the tie and stuff. And there might be
the hat.
Yeah, might be hats involved.
Yeah, the weird sexy Moriarty for some reason. Anyway, yeah, so next time we have Elementary My Dude Data, which is one of the big like Sherlock Holmes episodes.
Indeed. So
and of course everyone remembers it because it's a really cool Sherlock Holmes episode with Data.
Yes. And if I recall, there was after that one they're like, well, the Doyle estate is a little peeved that we did a Sherlock Holmes episode and we didn't talk to them beforehand. So maybe we need to back off on this for a little while, but
This is the episode that introduces Moriarty as a reoccurring villain character, etc. thing. Sure. I mean, he's kind of hot Moriarty. If you actually read the books, Moriarty is not a good-looking person,
which I guess is something I kind of appreciated about the more recent Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, that Moriarty's just kind of like this guy. It's like he's not just like
a dude.
Got a beard. I'm taking some notes here. What's up?
I think the only one that got it even kind of right was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The comic, not the movie.
Yeah, there's a little bit difference between the comic and the movie, because it's the movie and the comic, which is expansive and has a bunch of issues and goes off in weird places.
Yeah, the first book's pretty good. The second one's pretty good. After that, I didn't read them, but I hear that they're interesting.
I've heard some discussion about it, and apparently Mary Poppins is the Almighty.
That would make sense. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Anyway, next week is not League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Never watched. Don't want to have to watch that again. Oh my god!
It's League of Extraordinary Data.
Yeah, League of Extraordinary Datas. And maybe by next week, when we record I don't know how far through Picard they're gonna have to get for us to see Moriarty show up again. But maybe we'll have something to say there. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, when we're recording, it's still early in the season of Picard season 3, so
Yeah, they've only had 1 or 2 episodes so far.
But for you, the listener, we might have been,
It's probably over by now.
maybe they've decided to have a 4th season, and we're already halfway through that. I don't know.
Yeah, and production schedule's all out of whack. But anyway, next time, Sherlock Holmes shenanigans.
Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, an episode that could defeat even Data. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.